So I got an email this morning from my friend Shaindel in Seattle, and she actually had a video request. She said, can you please in 30 seconds do a video about how to raise happy children? So apparently I'm taking video requests now. I think it's a great idea. If you have a request, let me know. Thank you, Shaindel, because it's such a huge question in my life and in our lives. And here we are in the month of Adar, which is the Jewish month of where we're supposed to bring in joy. This is the month of joy and happiness. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about how to generate it. And I'm actually going to do it in my very messy children's room. So here we are in the pink room. So how to raise happy children. So there's a little part of me as a psychotherapist that gets a little bit triggered by the question, because it's like saying, wait, we need our kids to be happy, and that's the goal. And I think that is part of the problem with actual happiness, is that actually happiness should be a much broader word than just happiness, because I think happiness really is a state that is able to include all the emotions, and being able to kind of work with and work our way through all of the emotions that come to us. So how to raise happy children. I love reading books like this to my kids. Today I Feel Silly and Other Moods That Make My Day. It's actually written by Jamie Lee Curtis, which is interesting. So I love this book, and I love this kind of educational material in the sense that it communicates to our kids really clearly, whatever you're feeling is great. Total validation is really the key to raising happy kids. Is you can be who you need to be, darling. If you feel sad, mazel tov. Whoever you are, I accept, I validate, I love you the way you are. You can handle all your feelings. Giving our kids this kind of messaging, I think, is what in the end creates happiness. And it's a little paradoxical, because it's saying you can be sad, you can be angry, and that'll make you happy. Actually, that will make you happy. Actually, if you can, do a family showing of the movie Inside Out. In Hebrew, it's called Hakol Barosh. Inside Out is the single greatest movie of all time, in my professional therapeutic opinion. Watch this movie with your kids, and intensely, and talk about what this movie is, because in the movie, if you don't know it, and let's just talk about it again. In the movie, it's about this girl with all these characters in her head. She has all of her emotions. She has fear, and she has joy, and she has anger, and she has sadness, and disgust. And these are all crucial characters inside of her. And it's a movie, not to just spoil it for you, but in the end, the main message of the movie is that joy is not going to be joyful until she allows sadness in. Until she allows sadness to come in and be herself, then joy is not really going to be joy. There cannot be just joy. It's all about the interaction of all of these different emotions within us and holding them all. I love it that the main kind of Hebrew teaching that I would call on here and draw on here, that I think is so beautifully illustrative of this, is this idea around the word nega and the other word oneg. They're actually the same letters, both of these words. And in Hebrew, this is one of the big ways to deepen into and understand a concept to its depth, is to go in and look at the letters of the word, of the concept, and study them. It's almost like each letter is an element. H2O, right, is the composition of water. So too, we bring together the Hebrew letters, and each one is like an element with its own energy and its own content that it brings to the concept. Okay, so remarkably, the Hebrew word for negativity is the word nega. Very easy to remember. Nega in Hebrew means negativity. It means blemish. Remarkably, it also can be permuted, the letters changed around in order to create the word oneg. And oneg means joy and pleasure. The only way to get to true joy and to true pleasure is to go through the portal of negativity. It has all of the necessary elements and components within it to be transformed into creating pleasure. If we are all the time just pushing away the negativity in our lives and not holding it or handling it or validating it or dealing with it, then we just turn off the faucet to our emotions. We turn off the access point to the necessary ingredients to joy. in order for us to get to Oneg, we have to go through and hold those elements that are in Nega. The only way to get to joy is to go through the negativity, hold it, love it, validate it, work with it, transform it. And on the other side is going to be joy. So this is our main job, I think, as parents. A is to do it in ourselves. God help us to like hold our own negativity and to work through our own negativity and find joy on the other side. A is to do it ourselves. And B is then to model it and then to teach it to our children and to validate the heck out of them when we see them having a hard time. 2 days ago, my daughter broke her foot, and we went to the doctor, and he told us we were going to have to like get a cast and do the whole thing and go to the hospital. And it was an amazing moment because I started crying. I started crying, and I look over at my daughter, and I was like, oh my God, what a horrible parenting moment is this? Here I am, she's over there fine, and I'm bawling, and I turned to her and I'm like, Mayan, I know that you're seeing me cry and it's really uncomfortable for me. Please know that mommy just has to have like a little cry right now. Everything's going to be fine and you're going to be fine, but I'm feeling like a little bit sad and it's going to be okay. But if it's okay with you, I'm just going to cry for another minute and then we're going to go to the hospital and it's going to be a grand adventure and we're going to, eat ice cream and it's going to be a blast. But for this moment, darling, I need to cry. And I did. And she just kind of was bemused. She sort of just watched me crying. She was fine. And at the end of it, I wiped my tears and I said, okay, let's go get the ice cream and go to the hospital. And we had this amazing, beautiful adventure in the hospital together. And it was so fun. It was so joyous. It was like the best hospital day you could imagine. And so I forgive myself and actually I'm like a little pat on the back of like, yeah, I modeled for her that it's okay to cry and it's okay to have those emotions and we can work with it together. And the true portals to life's greatest joys are actually when we work through it together. Like that's the connection we want with our kids. That's the depth of living and loving and is working with the negativities together and that intimacy that comes from holding it with them. That is really going to produce happy kids on the other side, please God.